What's up, everybody? You're listening to Where's My 40 Acres, the Boob Tube podcast, and this week we're reviewing the blackest show on television right now. FX is on Atlanta. Shout out to Donald Glover, man.
I mean, how would you know you were alive unless you knew you would die?
My boy hooked you up. He made you the lemon pepper joints, but these got the sauce on them.
Life itself is but a series of close calls.
Hello. Welcome to another episode of the Where's My 40 Acres podcast. This is the Atlanta Review. This is for Teddy Perkins, Episode 6, Season 2 of Atlanta Robbing Season. That's with the hard G. And as usual, we're going to break this down from beginning to end, so everybody can unmute their microphones and we can discuss this.
I wish you gotta stop that.
Yeah, you can't do this the whole review.
Why not?
Nope.
Is this bothering you?
No, man. Even Michael Jackson thinks that's too much. Like,
I'm just doing what the people asked for.
Ain't nobody asked for that. Nobody asked for that.
All right. Yeah, what's up, everybody? So,
Wow.
we are joined this week, since we're kind of keeping the guest thing going with people either asking us to come on or running into old podcast guests and getting them on, willing them on with the power of determination and just coolness. We got an old guest that we haven't had on in way too long. Mr. Will, what is up, bruh?
Trying to maintain, man. I feel bad. I feel like the old guest instead of the guest from the past. And I have to be honest with you, Brandon. You know the reason I came on is because Deidre gonna give me some cookies.
Is that the only reason why you came on?
You know that's lies, but I'm doing it for TV.
Well, maybe
Those are
later
only
on
lies
she can
I
make
tell
that
on
happen.
Facebook.
Deidre got to bake a lot of cookies, it seems, over the next. I said, you got to bake a lot of cookies. I know April, we need to get some cookies out. At least one batch.
I do. It's coming.
I'm going to get my order in immediate.
They are delicious.
No.
Man,
Can I
so...
get that water now?
Yeah, so I'll take a little bit of Fiji and I'll mix it with some Evian, maybe 4 ounces of
bottled water and
of
then serve it in a
spring.
glass.
Do you like Voss?
I just wonder how you gonna do Fiji Evian and then hit me with some Poplar Springs after that. Like,
Why he got all of them, though? Why he can't make decisions? Why he just got all of them?
Then why do you mix them? Like, he literally mixed them, quote unquote, and gave it to him in the glass.
I don't know what he mixed in there, to tell you the truth.
I wouldn't have drank that
trusted.
water.
After you asked me if I wanted to bottle it from the tap, and I go, yeah, bottle, and you serve it to me in a glass? Nah, dog.
That shit came from the tap. It definitely came from the tap. And even when he asked Darius, tap or bottle? Darius said bottle. And if you looked at his face, it was like, it basically was him saying, we don't have bottles.
Right.
But then he proceeded to name off everything he's seen on the television commercial while being trapped in that house all day. Because that's what you do. You mix waters like you mix regular drinks. So
Mix water drink.
this episode had a lot of people in shambles when Thursday night. It being on Twitter and watching the live feed implosion of people's minds and fears manifested in tweets was amazing. Like, it was fucking amazing. And I'm curious to see what the numbers were like for last week's episode, and if they're tracking like DVR recordings, how many times it's been watched over the last 4 days, 3-4 days.
I mean, I tweeted for the first time in like a year. Just because I was like, I got to see what people are saying, because I can't be the only one that's like, what the fuck is going on?
It was an even split of just confusion, right? There were people who instantly got it, like they picked up on what was going on and the robbing theme for this episode, which we're going to talk about.
To them.
Yeah, we're going to talk about robbing themes for this season, period. But they picked up on that, and then there were other people who were just so damn frightened by the character that Donald Glover played, Teddy Perkins, that they could not get through any of the other layers in this episode. They were stuck surface layer, running for their life, doing some shit that Darius, that they were like, if I was Darius, I wouldn't have been in this situation to begin with. I just wouldn't have got this piano, this kaleidoscope style piano, whatever the fuck, with all these damn colorful keys. I wouldn't have got this rainbow key piano. That just wouldn't have been it. And then there were people who could not figure out if Teddy Perkins was Donald Glover in makeup, which I thought was hilarious because he has really strong features. I don't know how you didn't know that was Donald Glover.
I'm sorry, Deidre. It was either Donald Glover or Jabari Parker. You've never seen them in the same room together. I'm just saying.
Wow.
I'm dead serious. I actually posted that before. I looked at Jabari Parker one time in a game. I'm like, Childish Gambino plays for the Milwaukee Bucks? Y'all think I'm joking? Look at the picture side to side.
He does look like, they do look alike.
I don't see. I'm trying to see it. I'm trying to see it. I kind of see it.
Just know this, like I said, you've never seen them in the same room before together.
I kind of see it, but since I've seen Donald Glover live a few times, I know he's not Jabari Parker. So
I'm saying, worth the investigation. Nobody thought Teddy Perkins was Donald Glover either, so I don't know.
It's a little PI in us all, so I can see why. I can see how you could go down this rabbit hole. This is a real person. Yeah, I can see it. People still think me and Woon from Gaming and Then Some are the same person, but I don't know why. Woon God. I don't.
Wow.
That was for a while. People were like, you and Woon never see him in the same place, and then there was a picture of us in the same place, and it was like, okay, never mind. They're not the same person.
I mean, even if you didn't, I guess, physically get like, oh, this is Donald Glover. I mean, at certain points, and even in the beginning, like when he says certain things, like it sounded like Donald Glover.
Absolutely.
Like, it didn't even sound like Teddy Perkins. So that's why I was like, if you couldn't just get it by default with the, with the white face, you could definitely tell when he talked.
Well, the other thing that got me was the eyes. Like Donald Glover has like very distinguishable eyes. Like he makes them wide all the time. Like his surprise faces and stuff. If you've been watching Atlanta, I felt like you should have picked up on that instantly, even if the color or whatever wasn't right. It was still his eyes. Like you can't take that away from the man. His facial expressions are funny as hell to see. So when he was doing it in whiteface and a wig, it was even more awesome. And the voice just added to the whole creepiness of everything, the whole ambiance of just creepy shit.
It really did.
Came out through that voice.
I mean, they did a whole lot, obviously, knowing that LaKeith Stanfield was in Get Out, and then his character on the show is the one that people gravitate to because he's that dude in your crew that normally you would get rid of a person like that, you wouldn't be around him, but he makes the crew work because of what he is and who he is, right? And he is so oblivious to everything. And when he finally becomes aware of what's going on, even that doesn't go the way you think it would.
See, and my thing with Darius is I don't think he's oblivious. I think he doesn't put any weight on much. And even in this, the things that would frighten us, he kind of is looking at them very... He's like as matter of factly, like, okay, I'm in this crazy dude's house, but I'm want to get this piano. Like that's his focus. His focus is I got to deal with this crazy dude to get this fucking piano. Because even when he's having a conversation with Paperboy, he's like, yo, this dude is Google Sammy Sosa hat. That's what this dude is. I don't even think Benny's a real person. I think this guy he made him up because he made himself look like a goblin, but he wants that piano. He doesn't like all of that stuff. He'll deal with it to get this piano because he has a 2 regret limit life pack.
Yeah, that he's supposed to die.
Yeah, I mean, at certain times, even when he went down in the basement, when it went down to the basement, the thing opened. He was like, "All right, Destiny." He's like, "If this is where you telling me, this is where you lead me to go, I'll follow." Like, not really. Even if he was scared, just kind of pushes away because obviously this is supposed to happen.
I kind of relate to it because this is like how I act when we go to haunted houses out here in Maryland. Like, everybody else around you is screaming and they're shrieking, and I'm laughing and pointing at shit, you know, or somebody like tries to scare me because they holding a chainsaw, and I have a conversation with them, and at the end of it all, Ashley and them will ask me, "What the hell is wrong with you, and why didn't that shit scare you?" And it's just because I know it's a haunted house. Like, I don't have the same reaction.
Because the scariest thing to be in America is black.
We walk in a haunted house every day.
Haunted house called society.
Doesn't matter if it's light or dark.
It was an interesting. So I want to make sure that I get this right. This episode was written by Donald Glover. I feel like he's been writing this episode for years in his head and finally put it on paper. I mean, we saw how fast he threw together that Deadpool script after they dropped the show. That was after they got rid of the Deadpool show script. He wrote it that night. So he's kind of a beast at this screenplay shit. And I think this was directed by Hiro, but I'm not. I don't.
Yeah,
it was.
It was.
It
okay.
was.
And they opened up this week before the episode even started. They really I guarantee this is their favorite episode that they did this season, because like Hiro was on his Instagram page and dropped that this would be a 41-minute no commercial episode. So already they was getting the buck going on people like, watch this one, pay attention to this one, because we did something a little different here, and they did. I mean, they stayed within their view of the theme of Robin season, but they really did do something different with this one that like borders on being something cinematic. And they typically shoot really well done episodes. They are on their BBC type productions when it comes to just shooting a regular television show. If you've seen Orphan Black or anything like that, you know what I'm talking about. They should be looking cinematic. But this could have been a film in a theater.
Yeah,
It definitely could have been a long-form video, right?
Didn't they even they told everybody that, like, nobody got, like, screeners for it?
Good.
I thought I read that somewhere.
Somebody would have spoiled it.
Yeah. So they didn't do any screeners at all. It was just when it came on, everybody saw it at the same time. Oh yeah, somebody would have.
The way sites review stuff now and wanting to get everything being about clickbait, yeah, I think somebody absolutely would have ruined certain aspects of this by, if anything, just divulging the theme, the overall theme of the episode, which people are still having a hard time figuring out or understanding, which I think is cool because it requires you to watch it multiple times for you to get it, if that's the case. But just to run back through, and there were, like I said, a lot of tweets that went into this. So I'll start the episode off by going through the past themes that we've dealt with from the perspective of somebody named Mike Tadao. And on Twitter, it's at Mike Tad D Mike. Basically, what he said: what got robbed in Atlanta FX by episode. So episode 1, Alligator Man, the drive-through scene explains it all. Episode 2, Sporting Waves, Paperboy's plug pulls a robbery and Tracy robs the shoes. Episode 3, Moneybag Shorty, Earn and Van are robbed of their dignity by racism. Episode 4, Helen, Earn and Van rob each other of potential future together. In episode 5, Barbershop, Bibby robs everyone of time, honesty, money, lumber, trust.
Keyword time.
And then he said for episode 6, so everybody listening who's like, we're waiting for 40 Acres to break this down so I can understand what the hell I just watched. Episode 6, Teddy Perkins, we witnessed to how a father robbed his kids of a childhood and the final deadly aftermath. So the theme for episode 6 is not only being robbed of your childhood, but also, and this is from my boy Jeff J Says, he posted this, but I saw a lot of people say this as well. Darius also got robbed of his optimism and innocence. He's always the positive mantra dude. After this, who knows? I don't think it's going to have that much of an effect on him, but I do think he was robbed of his optimism for this piano and like his desire and focus to get this piano no matter what, once he witnessed a murder-suicide.
Right. Yeah, you could tell he was bothered at the end, you know, when he was in the U-Haul truck and just kind of looking and I'm sure reflecting on everything that he just witnessed, not only just witnessed, but went through. And I mean, we also heard him talk a little bit about, you know, I'm assuming what happened with him in his childhood with his dad, but I mean, it wasn't a lot, but still, I'm sure, you know, the events made him reflect on that. But yeah, I think Darius will still be the same way. Like, I don't think he's going to change completely, you know, but you know, yeah, it's still, I think it'll still kind of linger with him, what happened.
Well, how could something like that linger with somebody who does not believe in time as a concept? So I guess we should just say we always met.
I mean, I'm with Will on this one. I don't think this is gonna linger with him at all. I think in future episodes, if he was to mention it or reference this incident, it would be more of like, hey, yo, let's go pick up this thing from this random dude's house. Nah, I've done stuff like that before. Doesn't tend to go well. And then he would just continue eating his cereal.
But I guess more for me, I don't think it's going to change him a whole, like, completely. Like, yeah, I could see Darius will say that even before this episode, like, and you just don't know what happened with him. You just know with this, that's why he said that. But I'm just saying in general, like, his whole, like, as far as for his attitude and everything, like, that's not going to change.
Exactly. So yeah, we all agreed on the same thing, that it's his personality isn't going to change much, and I think that that came about from whatever abuse he experienced at the hands of his father that he just mentioned. I think that little mention was enough for us to much better understand Darius's character and a lot of the things that come out of his mouth.
Right.
I kind of think he's going to come out better for it, because I saw Teddy as less of being lost. I mean, less of being like robbed of a childhood and more being robbed of a possible dream and future. And that all came from just the conversation they had at the end. Mm-hmm. And I'll get more into it when we get into the last scene. But like the stuff they were talking about, and even the song that they played when ending the episode,
Evil,
kind of supported that.
No, I mean, and that came from Darius's mouth, but I don't think that's wrong. I think that's another perspective that works, which is again why this episode is amazing. But I think the being robbed of your childhood theme is definitely embraced with the conversation about all of these fathers that put their kids through hell to make them prodigies, and then the conversation about rap, which I read people's different perspectives, but I never saw the one that I was looking for, which was this whole, don't you think rap, it's a bit adolescent, it's a bit adolescent and never really grew up. And I find that to be interesting coming from somebody when you're referencing people like Michael Jackson, who seem to be stuck in their childhood because they never got to have one. So
can I interject here as somebody who actually took Michael Jackson on tour?
Yeah.
In 1997, we were working the Blood on the Dance Floor album when I was at Epic. And thinking about like the times I'm walking behind this dude when we're in this group of people, and you can't like just pick up and say, "Hey, Michael, let's go to the mall." That doesn't happen, right? Moving Michael Jackson then was like moving, the president. You can only take him like 2 or 3 things in a day, and you have to have security and advance and all this other stuff. But walking down the hallway and just like looking at him, and I'm like walking behind him, looking at the back of his head, like this is all he's ever known. Like whatever adulthood he was supposed to have, he never had, because he's always been the 5-year-old kid with a little afro leading this group, and his father pushing him to be that guy to pull them out of Gary, Indiana. Quincy Jones tells a great story. And when I have this like big coffee table book they did, and he talks about Michael in that book, where the first time when they moved out to Beverly Hills, and Michael's rolling in a Rolls Royce and comes over to Quincy's house. And when he gets out of the car, he picks up a brick. Somebody was doing landscaping near Quincy's house, and he picked up a brick as he was walking toward Quincy's house. And when he gets to the door, Quincy's like, "Yo, Mike, why do you have a brick in your hand?" He goes, "Man, I'm from Gary, Indiana." So, like, he never really adjusted to being Michael Jackson, that guy, in a lot of ways. And I think in a great many ways, he was still that child. And you talked about, like, the relationship between a black father and his child, whether it be male or female, like that's a serious undertone or a serious like theme that was explored in there, even though they didn't have, I guess, the female perspective in there. There's a lot of reference to like fathers who would push their children. You saw there was right away I got obviously the Joe Jackson reference, but like Marvin Gaye and killing. Was Teddy like this guy's father or his brother? Like, I don't know, right? And the murder-suicide part, not that Marvin Gaye's father killed himself. Basically, he did kill his son, like right after his birthday, if I'm not mistaken, or right before his birthday. Mm-hmm. So, there was a bunch of stuff. I mean, I saw a jab at Stevie. Like, there was a bunch of stuff in this episode. I think I'm jumping ahead too far, but I just want to talk about the Michael Jackson part, because, like, he never did grow up. I couldn't see it. Like, he just never had a life. But what is a normal life, I guess? And that's what is I don't use that term at all, but what is a normal life, in quote, I guess. I
think that's where the statement that like pertain that kind of goes back to the rap conversation, because he says about rap, Teddy Perkins says it never grew out of its adolescence. Mm-hmm. And I wrote that down in my notes. I wrote ironic as fuck, because he says he finds rap insufficient. And I feel like that that all comes from this being driven to be perfect abusively. And like they mentioned Joe Jackson and Marvin Gaye Sr., and I love how they don't know Tiger Woods' father name, so they say Tiger Woods' father and Serena Williams' father. And it's like, yeah, all of us heard stories. And then
Serena Williams'
father, yeah, he was a hard ass on those girls. Mm-hmm. That I remember that when I was really young, when they first came in, and that used to be the reports that their dad was not somebody you wanted to fuck with. Mm-hmm. But they also, and as the jokes, I liked how they still had jokes in this episode. They also make a reference to Emilio Estevez's father in The Breakfast Club.
Yes.
Yeah.
Emilio Estevez's father dropped them off.
I love it, because it was like they did the black fathers for sons, black fathers for daughters, and then they did white fathers for white sons with that scene, because his father really did not understand what Emilio Estevez's character was going through in The Breakfast Club. And they all have their little explosions throughout the movie. If you've never seen it, it's, in my opinion, it's a good film. You should check it out. But and there's a scene where his father just does not get his son and what his son, the star quarterback or star wrestler, or what I think it was a wrestler. Yeah, star wrestler. He just doesn't get what he's going through with that type of popularity and all of that pressure. So,
well, you know what it is? A lot of times it's about parents trying to live vicariously through their children. Yeah. They had probably failed experiences when they were teenagers or whatever the case might be. And so the drive to push them to do these things are them trying to live vicariously through their children. And people will see those parents as crazy. people will always say, "Oh, that guy's crazy." Well, they said Richard Williams was crazy when he said that his daughters would be the greatest tennis players of all time, and then he has a daughter who wins a major 4 months pregnant. Like, she's the GOAT just on that alone to me, right? So, and they just built a new, I think, American Tennis Hall of Fame. The first person inducted in the American Tennis Hall of Fame was not a player. It was Richard Williams. Crazy? Okay. So again, you might have a whole population of people who will say, oh, well, Marvin Gaye Sr. wasn't crazy, or, you know, Richard Williams wasn't crazy, or Joe Jackson wasn't crazy, whatever the case might be, because they got out of, or LeVar Ball isn't crazy because what they decided to do with their children and to guide them into the lives they wanted them to lead, they led, I guess, for the most part. I don't know. It just depends on the train of thought.
The weird thing about the Marvin Gaye father reference is that, you know, if you read his like autobiography book, like, and even just accounts from the mother, you know, talking about what happened, the sisters and brothers, like, out of all of the kids since like day one, for some odd reason, like Marvin Gaye's mom said, the senior never liked, you know, Marvin, like always would get on him. But later down the line, you know, the ironic thing is that a lot of the things that the senior was going through, as far as for, you know, he was known to be wearing women's, you know, clothes and underwear. And, you know, even though he was a pastor for a church, you know, he would still wear these things, you know, have, you know, wear women's wigs, things like that. I've never read anything as far as for, you know, what his sexuality was, but I know that was like a big thing. And in the beginning, like, it used to embarrass Marvin, even when they used to, you know, the parents used to go see him in concerts and things like that. And, you know, his dad would wear that stuff. But later down the line, you know, he used to wear that stuff, not so much in public, but, you know, behind closed doors. And I think they had a lot of similarities. And I just think that was one of the reasons why Dad just despised Marvin, But it was, if you like listen to, I got to find the interview with the mother. She would tell you, like, he, out of all the kids, just for some reason, always used to get on Marvin for everything, you know, and used to tell him, like, I do not like you.
I bet you Marvin with a lot of parents who see the things they want to change, or the things that they're struggling with in their children. Boom. And sometimes their children doing that and being free with it. And then there's an anger that comes. Mm-hmm. A lot of times there's usually a guilt that comes with that too, because you're like, that's my child, they need to be free. But somebody who's struggling through their stuff usually they're not all the way right. Mm-hmm. So you get a lot of times where they don't handle it right. And you'll see them either being downright mean to a child, or will just neglect the child. There's just not that closeness that they might have, let's say, if there's another child there.
But Twan, can we double down on what you just said about that meanness in how they treat the child? What if that parent still sees an adult child of theirs as a child, as a young child? And that's part of the reason why the treatment is there, because you're going to buck anytime you feel like your manhood or your womanhood is being threatened or pushed. Like, okay, Dad, I'm not a child anymore. I'll always be your son or your daughter, but I'm not a child anymore. And I think that sometimes parents have separation anxiety in that way. They can't differentiate between this person as their child and this person as an adult who is deserving, or I hate the word deserving, who has earned just by growth of the relationship and age and everything else, the respect of an adult, a fellow adult, even though there's a dynamic there between the parent and child. This, you know, separates them from, like, say, you know, two adults who just know each other or work together.
That sounds like a control thing.
I think that sometimes it's also one of those things. I mean, if we look at our experiences, or even, I don't know what you guys' experiences are, but my father was a lot like that. as far as like, as I got older, speaking to me in a certain way. And like, I resented him for a little bit, right? Until I understood that he only came, like, I had to respect how he was nurtured, how he was brought up, that he could only know what he knew. And so I'd look at it and go, okay, how can I count victory in these losses sometimes? And figure out that he was a product of his environment. And maybe that's me in a way apologizing for him, and maybe I am, but I got a lot from the way he parented me. So I had to figure those things out. And I think also to go back real quick, I'm not trying to dominate the conversation, but it was something that Brandon said that I didn't want to forget. When he was talking about rap and it not meeting or going beyond his adolescence, and then thinking about Donald Glover's last album and where he started off in this thing rapping, and now this new album, like how much rap did you hear in this latest album that he put out? Is that kind of him making a statement toward rap as well?
I'm not sure if it was him making a statement directly, but Donald Glover is a person who has always dabbled in growth, from doing Derek comedy sketches to writing for SNL and writing for 30 Rock, to then moving out of that environment completely. And we've heard rumors about having to deal with stuff like Chevy Chase, but getting into his own, establishing his own footing in rap, despite how people viewed him in the beginning, middle. And I think he's doing one more project after this, but then doing Awaken My Love, which it isn't rap, and that was when he started taking over like Coachella's and having his own festivals out in the woods like Coachella that were selling out. And now to the point where he is, in Solo, he has this hit television show that he's about to get. I would be very surprised if he did not get an Emmy for this episode in general, just for playing Teddy Perkins. But that's his growth has always kind of been to test this glass ceiling that I think other people hit. But I've always considered him, after a while, kind of like a Renaissance man when it came to this entertainment industry, because you really cannot box him, and you can try, but he just has a way of maneuvering and doing some really great things. It's just a person who is talented from many different angles. And I think that it's just been dope to watch. So I'm not sure if he was directly making a statement about hip hop, but there is an adolescence to hip hop genre that I think people have tried to show there can be growth if we allow it to be part of popularity. So, shout out to like 444, and I think a lot of the stuff Kendrick is doing, even the embracing of gay culture from hip hop artists, I think is growth, because we definitely had dudes who were 35 plus years old that were homophobic as shit and are still homophobic, living off of hip hop and continuing to push those ideas. And now we have younger artists who are changing that. So it could have been him making a statement. I think a lot of stuff that Donald writes is him making a lot of different statements that are his personal. I think even Vulture agreed to an extent with what you were saying about him maybe making a statement about hip hop based on that and what we saw with Awaken My Love and the direction that he's going now. But another thing that to go back on something that you said earlier, Will, the parents being hard, and look who's being inducted into, Richard Williams is being inducted, and these parents saw something different for their kids, et cetera, et cetera. I don't think that being like abusive and crazy, but also pushing your child to be great are mutually exclusive. I think that Richard Williams can be crazy as shit and still have, out of hard love, demanded greatness from his two daughters because he believed that they could be the greatest. So I don't think that you cannot be crazy. I don't think it's one or the other, right? I don't think it's like some people will believe that, no, man, he was just a father that pushed his children to be great, and look at them now, they're great. And I mean, like from the Michael Jackson perspective, was Joe Jackson not crazy because Michael Jackson ended up becoming the king of pop? I don't think those are mutually exclusive. I think you can be a bad, terrible parent and a good, I don't know if I want to say good parent, maybe good parent at the same time.
No,
I don't know. Like, I don't know.
I mean, it matters. It matters the viewpoint because some people might say, because there is a line where it's just some people are just abusive. They might be pushing for something that's in the end positive, but there's still abuse behind it. So if you're looking at it from like a Machiavellian point of, end justify the means, then yeah. But then you can have other people who gonna be like, even if you're pushing the kid and this is what the kid wants, because that kid just doesn't get to have a normal childhood, either because they're going to practice or doing this and doing that, some people will consider that abuse just because you won't let the kid do something, even if the kid is fully in it and they pushing themselves, but it's like they're just not being the kid. So, you got all these different views on when it comes to, that the parenting and what's too much. Because, when LeVar Ball and stuff was going around, people were putting that same narrative on him. But when you kind of and this is just kind of tertiary from looking around him, he doesn't have those things following him like you would say like a Joe Jackson, like we heard the stories. Mm-hmm. He's a brash, upfront person, and that's the media portrayal of him. And I always thought he did that as a way, because if the media was talking to him, then they weren't talking and trying to twist the kids' words. Mm-hmm. Like, focus on me. Mm-hmm. But he still got the same push as if he was being that one that was behind them with the whip, like some other people. So you always gonna have people looking at the parenting and just because in general, parenting is one of those things that everybody has their own viewpoint on, and they all get hot about it. So you're gonna end up asking yourself, what is the level? Because there is straight up abuse, but then some people have degrees of what they consider abuse. Some people just be like, if your kid just can't be free and be whatever they want, then you are putting too much on them by making them go to practice every other day.
Are you talking about hippies
and eat
now?
Certain foods so they can be a better athlete and shit like that.
I think you can see it all over television. Like, there's that Titans football show that was on television for a while, and you can now watch it on Netflix. There's the shows about the little girls that go into the pageants. There's the cheerleader show.
Oh, yeah.
They focus on the parents more than they focus on the kids because, in my opinion, those parents are crazy. They are crazy. And that's why the camera's always on them. Now, whether they're doing it to get publicity or not, I guess we can have a conversation about that. But I feel like a lot of those parents aren't even like really pushing their kids for greatness. They're trying to live vicariously through their kids. So it's all these different degrees in this conversation. Like, you really can't be like Joe Jackson is like Richard Williams. Completely. I don't feel like you can just draw a straight line connecting those two. You can't just link them like that.
Right. I agree.
So
not at all. Not at all. And I think what you were saying, like parenting, and I think Twan was bringing this up more than anything. Parenting, when people get upset, why they get hot is because somebody else is trying to tell you how to raise your kids. And that's a violation of the highest order in the black families I know, try to tell them how to raise their kids. They are not hearing it. And so I understand that part of it from a kind of a protective, defensive standpoint, that why people get hot about it. But, how to define sufficient and insufficient daddying and mommying is one thing. And to say that someone's crazy is obviously sometimes from the outside looking in, there's an optic, I guess the optics to go along with that, because there's a lot of hand wringing around. And since we brought up LeVar Ball, I'll use him as an example. When you talk to the guys in the league, let's just say that for the sake of conversation, and this is not me caping for LeVar Ball one way or the other at all. But just in looking at the situation, if you talk to a great majority of the 450 players who are in the NBA, let's just say for the sake of conversation, that 200 of them come from single parent homes where the mother was a primary parent. Okay. If you spoke to all 200 of them, let's just say for the sake of conversation, you would probably hear, and I've done this in a small sample size, that at least 60 to 65, maybe 70% of them would say they would kill for a father like LeVar Ball who fought for his children the way he fights for his children. Whether they're talented or not, he's going to get them an opportunity. Nobody wrings their hands when Kris Kardashian does it. But LeVar Ball does it, and all of a sudden it's not good for the kids. It's not what the kids want. Okay, I get it. So again, it depends on who's telling the story and how that narrative is being weaved. But I try to look at it from that perspective and understanding that, this man told Magic Johnson, told the league, hey, my son's not going to try out for any other team but the Lakers. And the Lakers, who had no obligation to pick him, picked him. So did he get what he wanted from the deal? Did his son Lonzo get to play where he wanted to play? Yeah. So I don't know how I can fault him that much. He's loud and brash and whatever, but I mean, I guess in this country or in America, the squeaky wheel gets the oil, I guess.
He's the nigga they treat him like. That's just, there are a bunch of white people who are just as loud or louder and crazier than he is. And they don't get that type of treatment. It's just part of them, right? It's just part of their character. It's why we love them. They don't take no shit. But if LeVar Ball rolls the same way, then it's, oh, look at this nigger. Like, that's what it is.
That's America, dog.
I know. It's just how it rolls. So he's taking that shit and he's flipping it on his head like we always have to do. And standing on it. Rising to the fucking occasion because that's the way they're going to bring him in. Okay. And he gets shit done that way. So we got way off. We got to get back to the episode. We got to reel it back in. Sorry, everybody listening. There could be a whole podcast episode just about what we're talking about right now. But let's talk about this episode. So first off, I'll just tell you right now, if you want to get all of the in-depth detail that you could probably get in as well polished as possible, Vulture is that site right now. Vulture went ham on this episode with the articles they've been releasing. They have a many layers of Teddy Perkins article that I will be referencing throughout the rest of the show. They have a every major pop culture reference article that they also wrote that I will also be referencing throughout this episode. So if you want those breakdowns, that's where you need to go. You need to go to Vulture. Now, I'm also going to put this out there in the beginning. As far as Donald Glover playing Teddy Perkins, accurate, he did. But also finding out during interviews with the cast and the crew, he actually stayed in character the whole time they shot this episode.
Oh, really?
Yes, and he stayed in character around LaKeith the most. And they said he just would not come out of playing Teddy Perkins.
Yeah, the director was like, bring Teddy to the set. Let's talk to Teddy about stuff.
He was still in character in the car too, right?
No. I mean, when they
also, if you look back at the episode, what did he do in the car when he called Paperboy and them? What was Earn doing in the car?
He was Googling Sammy Sosa hat.
But did he speak?
He laughed. Yeah, he said, "Oh," and he laughed. He put the phone up front.
Okay. I'm trying to remember. I don't remember that part, but okay.
Yeah, no, I've seen this episode like 5 times. Been watching the shit out of this episode because it's so fucking good. Let's see. So starts off. Darius is at I'm assuming, hardware store. My man's got a U-Haul. He is picking up some stuff, and in full Darius fashion, because why be paying attention? I guess. Because a hardware store could have dehydrated fruits like mangoes and gingers. And jicama? What is jicama? Does anybody know what the fuck is jicama? Jicama. There you go. I'm not. I am ghetto. I don't know what jicama is. It slightly
tastes like an apple. Like it has a texture of an apple.
Yeah.
Jicama. All right.
Jicama.
Yeah. White boy looked at him like no.
Like Mexican restaurant, but it tastes like an apple. It's actually really good.
See, this is how y'all know I don't watch a whole lot of Food Network on Netflix, and Deidre does, and Twan does, because I would know what a jacoma was if I actually paid attention.
Yeah, man, they be putting jicama in them chop baskets.
Yeah, that's how I found out what it was, and I was like, And I went to the farmer's market and I got one because they're very inexpensive, but yeah, it tastes like an apple.
Now,
and I'm sorry, Brandon.
No, you're good.
When
Go ahead.
Deidre referenced going to the farmer's market, were you wearing a sweater from Patagonia with a thick brown belt and trying to find out what kind of India Pale Ales they serve?
Wow. So
I'm just wondering. Kirsten Smith wants to know.
Now, Darius, being the innovative person that he is, I mean, he got earned $4K for some dogs. He's pretty innovative. He sees a hat that says Southern Made, and he sees a red marker, and he decides, hey, he asks how much of those, and the guy tells him. And I think this is one of my favorite scenes. He looks at the guy, he says, bet. That's all he had to say, because you knew he was about to do some shit. Bet. And he takes the hat, and he red markers all of the white letters out, except for U in Southern and MAD in Made, which turns the hat into something that needs to be on sale right now at fxnetwork.com's gift shop.
Oh, it got to be on sale, man. Like this episode of Atlanta is about to make black people take the Confederate flag. Like we about to just steal that shit, and white folks gonna be mad.
Yeah, he turned it into "You Mad." So that was one of the first pop culture references that will be talked about or mentioned in the Vulture article. Is the reference to Cameron on Fox arguing with Bill O'Reilly and the whole "You Mad" meme that we have been using for like the last 10 years. It's probably one of the first memes ever memed. So yeah, he gets in the truck. I also love that the white woman sees the hat after he has fixed it and he just gives her a head nod. Because why not?
She's staring hard too. She's like,
can you do that?
Her mind, like that, like you got this. That's what cognitive dissonance looked like. There was two things going on. She didn't know what the hell was to do. She was frozen.
Yep.
She was like, he's black. That's a Confederate hat.
Well, but who's mad? Who's actually mad? I don't understand.
I don't even know if she saw the "you mad" part. She just like confused.
Black man, Confederate hat.
Flag of Dixie, black man. I don't know.
And he's happy about it. Like it's just...
Yeah. Wearing it proudly.
So he hops in the truck and Stevie Wonder starts playing Sweet Little Girl, but instantly something he hums as he starts to pull off, and then the way they shot this U-Haul driving scene with this Stevie Wonder song playing in the background, the first thing that popped in my head was Sanford and Son. That was my first reference. And I think that's actually mentioned in the Vulture article as well. That there is maybe some reference to Sanford and Son, an episode about moving. I'm a youngin', so...
I mean,
are you making a hint? You hint?
No, I'm telling people listening, I'm young, so I don't know this shit. I can only remember stuff my father had me sit down and watching in tunes and whatnot. I don't have specific
the whole Sanford Son show is about moving junk.
I know that.
It's literally like they were junk men. That's what they did.
I want to find exactly what they said. Because when white people get curious and they want to do some homework, I'm assuming this person, but that's messed up.
You said I'm assuming.
I am assuming. It could have been a black person that wrote these articles. Sanford and Son, the Piano Movers. If Donald Glover wasn't thinking of this 1972 episode of the Frame sitcom when he wrote Teddy Perkins, then it'd be a remarkable coincidence. The Piano Movers follows Fred Red Fox and his son Lamont after they're hired to remove a piano from a Tony Beverly Hills apartment owned by a very wealthy, yeah. Okay. So there you go. That's kind of spot on. I'd be hard pressed to believe that he didn't know that episode existed. So there's another reference. Stevie Wonder's Sweet Little Girls, there's a lot of love being uttered throughout that song. So that's the dynamic the juxtaposition between the beginning, how this episode starts and how this episode ends. Starts with Sweet Little Girl, ends with Evil.
Yep.
And then I have to ask the question that I hope everybody was asking. Why the fuck was Darius flipping open a chalkboard-sized map to find his way to this person's house? We know he got phones.
I couldn't tell you right now where to buy a paper map at.
Me either. Unless it's at a novelty store. they're doing it for shits and giggles.
I feel like he did this
like,
for the
even Walmart
experience.
doesn't even sell that I know of maps.
No, it's wasted paper. He did this shit for the experience. Y'all know that, right? Like, he decided to cut his cell phone off because he uses his cell phone later on in the episode, which means he had his phone. He could have used Google Maps to get there. But
maybe he didn't want to use up his data.
that could be true. Maybe he didn't have that out there, but I think Darius saw that map and was like, I'm going to drive out to the country, but I want the full map experience. Longitude. I want that longitude and latitude experience. So he is struggle reading this map. He arrives at this. I know a lot of people have looked at this as Michael Jackson's home. Which what was his home called? Neverland Ranch. There you go. And he, I'm here to get the piano with the multicolored keys. Which, this is just my opinion. That shit was ugly. But that's just my opinion.
You didn't like the...
No.
You didn't like the watermark?
No.
The
That
watercolor
piano...
keys?
That piano looked like a unicorn pissed all over it. No, I did not like that shit.
Isn't that when I looked at it, I thought it was, isn't that like them early like training pianos, like if you learn how to play?
You could see, I don't even know those exist. You could absolutely be right, and it was a teaching tool. But
because I kind of looked at it like, was that the same piano that they basically learned to play on?
Could be.
I mean, I could be stretching.
No, that sounds no.
This is why
I've seen a lot of places with a color cord stuff, so you can visually see different keys and stuff. But it could just be, hey, let's do this.
No, I think that's
colors on
good.
my keys.
This is why we keep you around, my nigga. See, this is what you're here for.
I got gems every once in a while.
That's right. His thoughts are diamonds in the rough. A lot of rough. Whole lot of rough. When the gate is open, he buzzes, and I'm here for the piano. The gate opens up. He pulls up to the house. It is an amazing old piece of architecture. I'm sure it had slaves.
If they still have a golf course in Georgia where they play a golf tournament called the Masters, then obviously that used to be something that somebody owned down there on some plantation or some land, right?
They call them plantations, but I just call them slave homes. They were slave homes. I don't care if white people did live there. They were slave homes. We still owed some of that land, by the way. Check the name of the podcast. So he pulls in and he walks into the door. And I swear to God, I hate when they do shit like this in Atlanta. Teddy Perkins was not standing in that corner before
he was there.
I didn't see it before Teddy Perkins walked in that corner.
If you go back and watch before he turned around, you can just they had him out of focus, but he was way in the back because you can see the chin. Because I rewound it a bunch.
See the chin?
I rewound it a bunch of times. I was like, did this nigga just appear? I said, let me watch this. And I saw because they had the angle when he walked in, but that first angle when he was looking up, calling out, if you look dead behind him, you can see just a chin sticking out. The rest of them was in the shadows.
So this isn't like the Helen episode where that dude clearly was not standing there the whole time they was playing table tennis.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't know if he was in the beginning scene, but I know when they shot it, when he started saying something, I could see him in the back, but they just made him real out of focus.
See, that's what I'm saying. When Darius first walks into the home, they do an over the shoulder what's behind him, and I'm like, I do not see anybody standing back there. And then when they peruse around and then they cut back, I'm like, okay, there he is. But you could be right. He could have his chin could have been out of focus, and I just missed it. I wasn't looking for the white chin.
Mean, look, I look hard because my mama did it to me one time. I came in late, and she came out the darkness into the nightlight, scared the shit out of me.
See,
I thought she was a spirit. I almost hit my mama.
Now, did she come? Did she come out of the darkness?
I was walking in my room. I was like, good. All I saw was a nightlight, and she steps into that junk. Glad you're home. I was like, what? I ain't never. That's all she said, and she walked by me. She didn't say no. She just glad you're home and walked past me, and I was like, going to bed.
She didn't invite you to
way to get caught out there, dog. I mean, when we first moved down to Texas, they had us staying in this like discount motel spot, right? Until we got our housing on base. My father, blessed day, he was in the military. And my brothers and I, we wanted to go outside. We wanted to do something because it was boring. We were in Texas, and on our way in, we saw the street where the little prostitutes were setting up. So we wanted to go check them out later on anyway, right? So we were making a whole plan, whatever. And once it got dark, because we wanted to go outside, but it was 99 million degrees. I had never been in a place so hot in my life. At 12:30 at night, it was 98 degrees on the cement. I couldn't walk barefoot on the cement in Texas. It was that hot. So we went to the pool. We got kicked out of the pool because some lady called down to the front office and said there was these foul-mouthed hooligans cursing. She actually used that phrase, foul-mouthed hooligans in the pool. We got kicked out of the pool. My dear old dad comes in the room yo, y'all stay in here, chill out. Don't go back out, chill out, right? So as soon as he left, I'm like, man, I'm hungry. I saw a Little Caesar's Pizza across the street. We got $4, so let's go get some crazy bread, right? With the marinara sauce and everything. My little brother's like, Dad said don't leave. I'm like, punk, if you don't go, you're not getting none. So we sneak out. We go see the prostitutes. We're pointing and whatever. We're seeing them. Then we go get some crazy bread. And while we're getting this crazy bread, apparently there is a fire at the hotel we're at, and people are evacuating their rooms. So we're trying to creep around the back of the hotel to get in there. And we go in the room, and it's real dark. Why I walk in the room, and I'm telling my brothers to be quiet, and I bump into something breathing. A little bit of pee runs down my leg, and I'm like, my father turned on that light, dog, and he was good for the no-look punch. So if he was looking at my brother, I was already tightening my chest up because he was about to hit me. And sure enough, he's looking at my brother, and he's like, hey, my man, didn't I tell y'all not to go? And it, bam, hit me in the chest, right? He scared me so bad when we walked in that room. I tried to play tough. I'm like, this dude must have known. That's scary. Y'all don't know scary. That's scary.
Yes, but did he invite you into the parlor?
Wow.
That part, no. I didn't know if he was going to turn that into a museum or not.
Yes. So
the voice is killing me.
So yeah, he invites Darius into a parlor, and Darius, being a nigga, I've never been in a house with a parlor before. They go and they sit down in the parlor. Now, again, I did not see anybody talk about this online. I feel like my tweet about this is the only tweet that exists in the Twitterverse. Why are there so many lamps and candles, like oil candles from different periods of time, and two of everything? Oh wow. My God, they're everywhere. There's 100 in the parlor they're sitting in. And even on the wall, they have these double lamp things. I think they're lamps, but they have shades over them. Oh, I think they're candles, like electric candles, but they have shades over them like they're lamps. And they're everywhere. It's just
it could be because I looked at the house, because I even put down, it was nice but old, right? And the thing about going back to when Benny was making money, he bought the house, but it seemed like that house is stuck in time, wherever it was. That's where it's at. Kind of like they're stuck in time, like they're just at this moment. It has not changed. I mean, the little intercom he used was old as shit, which wasn't really an intercom. It was just a little recorder. But they had the old school elevator on that shit. It was just
that was old as fuck.
You ever see when you go to see old actresses and shit, and they got their houses, but their houses are still stuck in that time when they were on top.
When the hell did you go to some old actress house, Twan?
Look, that's.
Thank you for asking that question, because he just be making up shit
when they be
sometimes.
doing this. I be watching some old VH1 where they go touring people's houses and shit. I was actually there.
You ever think that because they touring those people's houses that they keep them that way for effect, for people to pay $4 to walk through them? I'm just putting this out here. It's not like Elizabeth Taylor comes walking downstairs during those tours and welcome to my abode.
Look, hey, Teddy was ready to have people come through the house.
Teddy needed a sacrifice, Twan.
That gift shop was funny. I saw earrings.
Listen, he was ready. He was ready to turn that shit into a museum.
I was like, wow.
And just for, since Twan already referenced the scene.
Darius would like a glass of water when you have a moment.
I mean, just outside of not having a butler, and we all thought it was a butler.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
That's a great way to remember shit. You know what I mean? That's a great way to remember shit.
When I found out that motherfucker was using a talk boy and it wasn't the intercom system, I was all types of hurt. I was like, oh.
Like, look, there's somebody out there right now that be using like Siri, but like Siri, mind me get water. All right.
Darius would like a glass of water.
So he invented Siri.
He just did old fashioned. Let me record this.
Oh, this thing. This is a recorder. I use it to take notes. Then he says something about Dionne Warwick, like make a wig for Dionne Warwick, some shit.
Yeah, get Dionne Warwick's hat.
Then what is the other one? He says, wash your hands. Remember to wash your hands immediately.
Now, like, see, that one to me, because at the end, all the shit that happened didn't feel like this was his first time. And I wonder, was that recording his first time? Like, he did some shit, and then he's like, wash your hands immediately.
Darius would like a glass of water, please.
Like, he legit got blood on his hands. He's like, no, I did some shit. I got to wash my hands.
That shit just...
Right, that scene had me dying, though.
That shit just tripped me out.
Yeah, that's like, because there's a little pause. He said, wash your hands immediately.
Remember
like,
to wash your hands.
Yeah, and it wasn't like he was a dirty, unkept person. So it's like, why do you have to remind yourself to wash your hands?
We really don't know how dirty he was, though. That motherfucker might not have no deodorant on.
Then the shit he told Darius at the end, when he had him getting handcuffed, and he said, handcuff your ankles first. You know what I mean? Like this ain't the first time. Maybe it's another nigga rushed him. You know what I mean? One time he had a handcuff the hands, and a nigga rushed him. You know what I mean? He's like, look, cuff them feet first. Get them ankles right.
Hey, Twan and I used to watch a lot of Adult Swim back in the day. Twan, did his voice remind you of a Moonanite when you first heard it?
No. Yeah.
Come to Earth. I'm doing this as hard as I can, and I hope they can see it. I was like,
man,
it reminds me of a Moonanite. So they sit down, and I don't know, it just is tripping me out that he had two of things, but they weren't exactly the same. He had two pictures that were lined up on the wall that had like the same filter, but they were of different things. He had two pillows on the couch. They were different. Usually when people have pillows on the couch, they're either the same style of pillow, even if they're different colors of a style, but these two pillows look just completely different. Like he brought them from two different yard sales back in 1863. And they start to have this conversation with this ostrich egg sitting in the middle of the table. Now, there are a couple of references here. One of them is straight up to shit that rich white people do, which is have ostrich eggs as an hors d'oeuvre. So he didn't just make that up. Like you can Google ostrich eggs and you will see people dipping crackers and wheat thins and shit into this, like the yolk and everything, and pulling it out.
Yeah, soft-boiled eggs is not a new thing.
Soft-boiled ostrich eggs, nigga.
But people do it a lot, and they even do it with just regular, chicken eggs. Crack a hole up top, and then you dip bread and stuff in it. Shit looks fucking disgusting to me, but
yeah, that whole poached egg thing was straight up Dave Chappelle with the pterodactyl egg, dog. Oh, this is baller. It's only two left. It's 4 million years old. That's exactly what I thought. As soon as I saw him crack that, I saw that scene from Criz where Dave Chappelle was doing it.
Now, if you look at this, the whole, and I guarantee you that's probably a reference that they missed, and he probably got that from that same skit and just from Googling ostrich eggs hors d'oeuvres, because white people do rich shit around Donald. They have been for years. But just listening to him open the egg is one of the most cringe-worthy things about this fucking episode. Like, listening to it, it sounds bad. Watching it is even worse. But just listen.
So, you hear about the piano?
It's not. It's just for that to be the first line after that very long silence.
When it drew, ugh.
I feel like there's a microphone in the ostrich egg during this scene.
Because I've seen, good old Food Network, they've used ostrich eggs to bake. That was a chopped item. And, it has a lot of, and I've seen them cook with it as well, actually bake with it because, they say it does taste like, I guess, a chicken egg, like richer or whatever. But, of course, since it's bigger, you get more yolk, all that type of stuff. So I've seen people mostly bake with it, not so much physically eat it. But even when they crack it, they've just cracked it like a normal egg. But like him, and then when the way he cracked it was gross, but even when he was eating it, and it was like, he was eating it and like, it was like slurpy crunchy. It was just nasty.
I don't think
that's how it is. Like, it's just slurpy. Like, it's just,
Ugh.
I mean, soft boiled eggs, like, is like 4 minutes on a boil.
Yeah.
Again, that's not true. Soft-boiled eggs do not drip liquid out the. I eat a soft-boiled egg at work every morning. What are you talking about? Like soft-boiled, that shit wasn't boiled all the way. Okay, it wasn't because he just dipped his hand in all liquid. It was liquid. It wasn't boiled. I don't even think that shit was.
So
I don't think that shit was boiled all the way.
Then what was he eating? Because like when he was like, he stuck his hand in there.
And it's
and
gushed.
like he made noise like it was almost crunchy almost.
No, it gushed like
Maybe he had
liquid.
Toast Points or something. I don't know.
That shit was so like.
You know, there's a thing, right? And I think it's all about how we eat in North America and like certain differences in how people eat. Like, I don't know if Filipino people would have been all that offended by it. And this is not to disrespect or try to like lump all Filipino people in, but there's a delicacy in the Philippines called balut, which is like a partially cooked duck egg or something like that. And the duck body is still in it. Like baby duck is still in there. You suck the juices out and then you eat the duck.
Wow.
So, again, somebody would have been watching that and then they're like, oh, we eat that all the time. It's all good.
Wow.
Look it up, though.
Wow. That's all
I'm not eating it, but,
Yeah, you let the egg fertilize and then you let it grow to a certain time. And then you cook it.
Come on, dog. You get me sick right now. Think about this.
Bruh, he does this shit all the time like he be there.
You still see a little bit of a beak. You still see a little bit of
Bruh, he don't be there. You don't be there, nigga. You don't know. TV is lies. You don't be there. Also, everything y'all are describing right now, to me, just is what I see when I see people eating crawfish on like New Orleans shows. They just be sucking all the parts of the crawfish out. And I'd be like, I'll never eat crawfish.
Yeah, I mean, I guess because I didn't grow up eating crawfish, it's just never been a big thing.
They just be sucking the booty hole.
They'll suck the head and all the eyes.
Yeah, they be sucking the crawfish armpit, and they suck the chest open. They suck the booty hole.
armpit.
People be like, "Is that a hole? Let me suck that." It's like, ugh.
And the other part, like, that Teddy, like, they're rich when you got like tools for just one fucking job. They had a little mallet that's just for breaking the edge. Nothing else. You do nothing else with that little mallet.
But
it is just for that one use. That's how you know you're rich, when you just got silverware for one fucking use.
That shit was gold,
like,
dog.
That's it.
It was gold-plated ostrich egg cracker.
You know what I'm saying? Just so, and it's probably called, like, I be watching a lot of Frasier, and he be having like little salt serving spoons. I'm like, what the fuck is that? Like, who needs that shit?
Now, did anybody else feel like it looked like he was opening a person's skull, like a callback to some Silence of the Lambs sequel shit or whatever? Because he like breaks it on different sides, but with like this surgical precision. And all I kept thinking was, that looks like some really, I be making humans eat their own brain shit.
It's funny you said the brains. There are people who find monkey brains a delicacy. And they kill like these little monkeys, and they put them in a table in the middle of the group of people, and they have those little mallets, and they shave their head off, and they crack the head with the mallet and eat the brains right out of the head of the monkey.
Why do me and you, we watch the same stuff, man?
Wait, wasn't that Indiana Jones?
I don't know if it was Indiana Jones. It might have been.
When did you watch Indiana
Jones?
Jones?
We watching the same things, man.
I want to know when Deidre watched Indiana Jones, because she didn't start watching movies until last year.
I think one of like the old ones. I want to say I can't remember which one it was, but
when you saw it, it definitely had commercials. I don't believe that you see the
no, don't do that. Don't no. We're not gonna do that. Don't do that lie. But no, this was like, I mean, I was young when I watched that one. That's the only one I have watched.
You watched more than I have.
Like Indian or something.
I don't know, but it was crazy. They eat the brains of that monkey. I was like, come on, man. You could never convince me to do that. And with a group of people, they were all like cavalier about it and everything. So maybe that's why Teddy Perkins didn't have any problem eating his egg in front of Darius like that.
Brains, eyes, and like entrails, they got certain, vitamins and minerals you can't get other places.
All right.
Fine, I'm watching you, dog. You got
sure.
Bro, he reads serial killer books for fun. I don't trust this nigga. I know this nigga don't trust this nigga. Now, Vulture had a breakdown on this that I thought was interesting. I don't know. I can't say I don't agree with it because I don't do enough research into symbolism of animals to speak to it. But Teddy Perkins calls this an owl's casket, which I Googled and did not find any relation between owl caskets and ostrich eggs. I tried, and maybe my Google was just very weak that night. I don't know, but I didn't get a lot of hits. But they went on to explain it this way. Teddy has, as its centerpiece, an enormous ostrich egg that Teddy says is also called an owl's casket. Ostriches are native to Africa. The owl is a symbol of prophecy, learning, and higher wisdom in many cultures, and the pairing of that bird with the word casket implies the death of those values, a condition that Teddy, in his high voice, grinning obliviousness, seems to exemplify. The egg, of course, is fertility. But there's something singularly unnerving about making its emblem so gigantic here. The ostrich egg is cartoonishly oversized in a way that simultaneously confirms Teddy and Benny's immense artistic potential and turns it into something grotesque. Darius nearly vomits at the sight and sound of the fluids gurgling out of the egg as Teddy sloshes around in it, slosh, such a good word, in it with his bare hand. The perversion of the symbol of life connects with the stories Teddy tells about he and his brother having excellence beaten into them by their father to be a good life, quote. A character explicitly likened to Joe Jackson, who once told Michael right before a concert that there were snipers up on the rafters who would shoot him dead if he missed a single step.
Damn.
So,
I mean, that's some deepness. Like that, there might be a couple stretches in there.
There was a little hotep in there.
I can't say no. Like I don't know enough to say. Nah.
That's what I'm saying. Like it's like I said, it's a little bit of hotep in there. Like I feel like he slightly believes in the Illuminati, maybe just the Illum part, not the naughty part. I'm not sure, but it's a little twinge. But it's smart. I can't say it's not an intelligent take. And again, I think that this episode is supposed to make people want to do these types of takes.
Yeah, like it reminds me of when that video that's going around of Jordan Peele talking about a lot of the things people, like reading people's thoughts about like Get Out. So he was reading that and be like, yes, we did do that on purpose. Then other stuff, he'd be like, you know what? That sounds good. That ain't what we were thinking at all. We just thought it looked cool. But yeah, we'll go with that. That sounds like a good reason.
So it's like
sometimes like good art makes that happen sometimes where sometimes it's like, yeah, we really meant to put all it in there and we're glad you got it. And the other times it'd be like, that's a good take on it. But nah, man, we just had an ostrich edge. We thought we were cool.
That's the same perspective that people took with Black Dynamite. Some of the shit we thought was happening because they wrote it actually wasn't happening because they wrote it. We just noticed it, and now it's funny.
Yeah.
So let's see, the owl's casket, and
did you catch that Darius was on the biohacking boards? That's how he found out about the piano.
I didn't see. I couldn't understand what he said. This is the one episode I didn't watch with the closed caption on. So
yeah,
the scenes where he talked low, I couldn't hear it.
it said biohacking. He was on biohacking message board, which is like, you know, and biohacking is basically like study of genetics and chemistry and using that to get the fullest potential out of humans. And it sounds like some shit that Darius would look into.
It also sounds like something that goes right in line with the theme of this episode: perfection out of your children and doing whatever you need to do to get it. Yeah, that's creepy as shit. Twan, you noticed the one creepy reference that nobody else has talked about online as well. Doing a good job here, sir.
Yes, you only get that. That's why you come to the 40 Acres to get this review.
I've not seen that anywhere else. Yeah, so they start. Darius noticed that we gotta move along a lot quicker here. Darius notices that Benny, Teddy Perkins. My bad, y'all. Teddy Perkins asked him if he knew about Benny Hope, and Darius is like, no, and he points. And he sees these pictures of Benny with all these different celebrities. Oh, that's Stevie Wonder. He goes online, it's Nina Simone, et cetera, et cetera. And as they're talking, they start having a conversation about Teddy Perkins is quoting things that some of those celebrities said about Benny Hope. And one of the things he says is that a guy told him, your brother plays pain better than anyone. And Teddy says, Benny just plays what he knew. Which I thought was deep as fuck.
Yeah, it's real deep. I mean, to take it back real quick, the person he said that did it was Ahmad Jamal, who is a great jazz pianist. And most of y'all, even if you don't know who Ahmad Jamal is, you've heard him because he's been sampled numerous times. The piano in Feeling It by Jay-Z is Ahmad. The piano in Stakes is High by De La Soul is Ahmad. The piano in R.I.P. Kevin Miller. Yeah, like
definitely be here all day.
That's what I'm saying.
You know,
like,
R.I.P. Kevin, like he got a lot of stuff in there. So like, go back, listen to him because he got some real good music in there.
He had more of those pianos.
I learned about Jamal because I just love sampling, and that's how I learned about him. Mm-hmm. But also, he's playing the when Darius going upstairs and hears the piano playing, that's Ahmad Jamal. That's right. Song too. And
the funny thing, it was I was talking to my brother about this when we were watching the episode, or he watched it after I watched it. But my brother has a middle name Jamal for the reason that in my house, my father's a big jazz head, and Ahmad Jamal, or the artist formerly known as Frederick Russell Jones, was played a lot in my house, and so I remember all those songs and albums and whatever, and that my brother got the middle name Jamal because of Ahmad Jamal. He now has named all three of his children, all males. Their middle names are all Jamal as well. So just a fact. But it was odd when we talked about the show and he was listening to the songs. He goes, I know that song. I'm like, I bet you do. So.
So the conversation continues and Darius remarks, must be depressing. And Teddy Perkins responds, who knows? Maybe we'll get a good album out of it. Maybe a masterpiece.
You killed me with the voice, dog.
Yeah, he said it's not easy. Who knows? Maybe one day we'll get a great album out of it. A masterpiece.
He gets up and he has to rush
made
off.
me, at that moment, made me think about, was he trying to replicate what his father was doing to Benny?
Nigga, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. That's why he had that nigga locked in the basement.
Started that thinking,
I think that's why some people might have been confused as to whether that was his brother or his pops. I think it was his brother, but I think it was his brother taking directly from his pops because Darius mentions later, we don't have to repeat that same cycle of
which is
experience our father.
Yeah, and that's a big thing with abuse.
Yeah,
abuse is repeated in cycles.
So he gets up and he leaves, and Darius is like, I can't sit in front of this ostrich egg. He kind of just walks around and he's looking at these different rooms. And pay attention when y'all watch this. There's so many fucking lamps and candles in all of these rooms. And at one point he picks up a book, and that's when they cut to show us that Teddy Perkins is into technology because he's got cameras all over the damn house, and he's watching from a security room, which looks definitely like one of the security rooms you'd see at Walmart or Target. And Darius opens a book, dust flies out, he sneezes on his hand, and he wipes it in the book, closes the book, and puts it back on the shelf. And that's why you need cameras in your house for when people come over.
See, I thought he accidentally sneezed and like got liquid on the book, and he was like, "Oh shit," and then closed it.
No, he sneezed on his finger, he wiped it on the book, and he closed the book, put it back on the shelf. Nasty bastard.
Niggas.
Proceeded to walk through the rest of the house, and that's when he starts to hear the pianos. He walks upstairs, and this is where they give you kind of like the shining Stanley Kubrick view of this house, because it's massive, but it's a maze at the same time. There's so many different doors, there's so many different hallways. It's just fucking creepy. And he hears.
Or would you say there's so many different levels to it, Brandon? Kind of like this episode.
Yes, that works. He follows the piano and he comes to a room. Then the piano stops playing, door opens, and it is Teddy. But there's a wheelchair at the piano, but no body at the piano. Just a wheelchair and Teddy. So the assumption is that he was playing the piano. And also the assumption, I think, at this point for some of us was this motherfucker is also pretending to be Benny. I know for me, this was my first time where I was like, oh, Lord, Teddy Perkins is Benny Hope.
Yeah, I thought that too in the beginning.
And he won't let Darius come in the room. Darius is like, I was kind of just looking for that glass of water. And that's where the whole, would you like maybe some Evian, some Voss, some Fuji, mix it with a little spring?
Did you see in the through, I guess, to see anything in that room that I was trying to peep, but I didn't see anything.
The only thing you can see is the wheelchair and the piano.
Mm-hmm. That's all I remember. I remember seeing.
Mm-hmm.
So this is when Darius decides to walk outside and call Paperboy, and this is the comic relief of the episode outside of Teddy Perkins.
And it was funny.
So these niggas are going through a drive-through, which a lot of people go through a drive-through this season. I don't know if it's safe to go through drive-through.
And it's Crystals, which is extra funny because that is Atlanta.
Mm-hmm. Paperboy is like, are you willing to die for it, this piano? And that's where we get Darius talking about the 2 regret life limit pact, and that when he has over 2 regrets in life, he has to tell somebody and they will end his life. And Paperboy's like, why would you tell anybody that to have that happen? The only way they'll find out is if you tell them. But why keep asking Darius questions when he already said shit that's confusing? Because you know it's about to get more confusing. No reason to do that. And that's when they have the conversation about Sammy Sosa's hat, because Darius is describing what Teddy Perkins looks like. And he also says, I don't even think Benny is a real person. We talked about this earlier. He thinks Teddy is Benny, and he's just playing somebody else. He's kind of just lost his fucking mind because of what he did to himself. Over Vitiligo looking self, Michael Jackson looking self, Sammy Sosa looking self. He said he looks like Sammy Sosa. Somebody left Sammy Sosa in the dryer. He tells them to Google. He tells him to Google.
When he said Sammy Sosa hat, man, I bust out laughing because I knew that picture instantly.
I didn't.
too.
I did not. So I Googled the shit out of Sammy Sosa hat.
You talking about the blueberry picture?
No, the one he's in the pink outfit.
Yes.
He got the pink hat on.
That's blueberry.
Yeah.
He said they said he looked like a white man's penis. They say he looked like the shit under the scab. They kind of just went in on.
They are cracking up too.
Mm-hmm. And at the same time that this is going on, when Paperboy orders his food, he says he wants it.
Paperboy.
He says he wants the food without fries, and the guy says, "Fries with fries is less." And Paperboy says, "I don't care, take them out." And fucking Stacy yells, "That's rich nigga shit." I'm still not sure who Stacy was yelling at.
I thought he was yelling at the phone because Darius was describing
how he wanted
like what was going on, and he was saying that's some rich nigga shit.
Oh, okay, right.
That's what I thought.
Not crazy nigga shit, just rich nigga shit. And when they get off the phone with Darius, and Darius sees Teddy Perkins watching from the window, they cut back to Alfred and them. And before they cut away from Alfred, however it happened, the guy who's giving them their food at Crystal's first of all is like, "Can I take a video?" It says, "Wish my mama sing happy birthday to my mama," and Paperboy's trying to ignore him. while this is going on.
No, he was saying some just random ass shit in the background.
Yes, he was. It was hilarious.
When he came back, he gave them their food. He goes, I put some extra fries in there. And Paperboy said, well, take them out, then. And he said, nigga, just don't eat them. Like, what?
Like, Paperboy's like, I already asked you not to put fries in there.
You put extra fries in there.
And then you go give it some extra. And he looked at it, didn't even miss a beat, just looked at him. We'll take them out.
But that was like the dude who came up to him in the bar when they were celebrating and was trying to get put on. It's the same thing. He gave him some extra fries, like he was going to pay attention to him and give him some more love because he was Paperboy, you know?
Yeah, like, I didn't ask you for extra shit. Like, so.
You ain't got to ask, you Paperboy.
You ain't about to get nothing because you did some extra shit.
Also, giving this nigga extra shit when he asked you not to give him none of that shit at all. That is super ass backwards. They cut back and Darius walks into the house and he gets his glass of water when he walks upstairs into the gift shop. He walks through the door and they take a picture of him, and this is a callback to Get Out. Some people speculate because Darius gets flashed in films now. Sometimes,
but this time he blocked it though.
He did. He blocked it with the Panther sign.
Like the picture was his hand with he was totally across his face.
He was doing the
he gave him the Wakanda cross.
But was that also a callback to maybe like when Michael Jackson used to hide his face, or when celebrities hide their faces in pictures, or had like Blanket's face or stuff like that?
I took it as I looked at it as a Get Out reference because the Flash is what brought him back in Get Out, and then this one he totally blocked it from his eyes.
He didn't need to be woken up. I see what you're saying. He was already woke. Yup.
Maybe, you know.
Yup. Got to go back to Egypt, dog. So they walk into this gift shop, and it is a very dated gift shop. I'm not sure anybody would buy anything out of here of Benny Hope's. This would, honestly, Benny Hope having a gift shop is like if the Funky Drummer had a gift shop, which is a sad thing to say because that man is probably the most unnamed popular person throughout all of hip hop as far as what they have done with what he created and other people took credit for, Mr. Brown. And it's kind of sad and depressing, and that obviously I feel like his gift shop is a relic. But he's looking through it, and I didn't catch what Teddy Perkins said about taking something. He says, take what you want or something like that. I don't remember what it was. He
said, take what you want. Feel free to Twitter and Blogspot about it.
Okay. Oh, did you catch when fucking Teddy said flames downstairs when...
Yeah,
when
Darius
yes, said it?
Flames.
Yes, flames. I was like, yo, come on, man.
Yeah, but like he basically just said like, and that was cool because when he said that, it was like, okay, so Teddy's not fully isolated as you would think he was.
Yes, flames.
Because he told, and him telling like Darius to feel free to Twitter Blogspot about like he was like, you know, feel free to talk about it, get the word out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he knows Twitter.
Yeah, so
the tweets.
So he takes Darius into another room, and just the whole creepiness of walking into this dark room and the way he closed the two double doors behind him, which I feel like had chains hanging from them for no reason to add that Texas Chainsaw Massacre effect to when you get locked in a room. And he cuts on a light, and it is a all white mannequin in a suit. And he says this is basically like the Black Father's Hall. And he talks about his dad, and there's a lot of speculation about why this mannequin was white and how
I was waiting for that thing to move.
Wow, man. DJ took it to a whole nother level. Like, still makes
I really was. I was like, watch this thing move. Even after they left, I was like, it's going to twitch or something.
I recommend that anybody who really loved this episode should watch this episode and then go watch The Babadook on Netflix. You will not be disappointed. So the mannequin is all white, and there's the speculation about, the whole white privilege and kind of like proficiency in whiteness and achieving that white mark in life as a black artists or a black person in general, you know, being like white people. Maybe he saw his father as white. I don't know. There's just, I don't know what crazy people be thinking.
Yeah, I feel like they missed like just what Teddy said. Like this was the part I literally wrote down in my notes. Teddy idolizes his dad, because while he's talking about what happened, he's saying us, right? So this, the way he's saying it is, this is what my dad put me and Benny through. At some point, it changed to just Benny. Maybe Benny was the one that showed the talent, so it switched to just them. And it made me think of, if you got two kids or who are going through that, kids, no matter if they're being abused, they want love and attention from their parents. So it made me instantly think of, if they were both going through this, and then there was some point, there was a shift that now Benny's the one showing the talent. So Benny's the one that's getting that push. He didn't look at it as, oh, this is relief. He might have looked at it as, now I'm not getting the attention from my father. And then the rest of his life was basically, because he said he was with Benny while all this is going. So the rest of his life is now, I could not do the piano thing, is now following behind his brother as he does that. Which, that's why I thought it was more like a lost dream type of thing. And he turned to the point that he was idolizing his father, because in the end, as a child, all he wanted was the attention. Whether it was negative, it was still, he wants it. And that's why, you know, even later, he's watching videos of his dad working with Benny and saying, this is like my favorite, like just watching that. Like, I still want that attention from my father. And that's why he was idolizing his father in that. That's why that father got his whole hall to himself, and he was going to make a hall for other fathers who he might have felt like don't get their, who he might have also idolized, but they don't get their credit for what they made.
Well, he feels like people don't understand. This is how you get excellence. This is how you breed excellence, right? Sacrifice. And people are just looking at it wrong. It's kind of like the whole diatribe he goes on about in that room. And Darius doesn't necessarily agree with this. He even asked him, your dad used to beat you to be good at the piano. And Teddy responds with, to be good at life. To make an omelet, you have to break a few eggs. To build bridges, people have to fall. Great things come from great pain.
Yeah, and that was, because I wrote that down as a thing, like, does great things come from great pain?
I mean, essentially, some of my favorite albums come from people who were going through things when they did them. Like, hit a low, and that album seems to be, or that music seemed to be what brought them out of it.
Well, isn't that what, if you look at, like, you talk about just art in general, a lot of like, the greatest art comes from that depth of pain, I guess. You know, something that someone's going through. It doesn't necessarily have to even be like physical pain. It could be emotional pain. It could be mental pain. It could be whatever. But there has to be some, it seems like, and I don't want to, like, again, do a blanket indictment, but it would seem that a great majority of like quality art comes from a personal place that somehow we can all relate to, which is the crazy part, because it's like this person might be going through a thing. And to go back, I guess I'll use Marvin Gaye as a reference. To me, one of the greatest albums ever made, regardless of genre, is What's Going On, Marvin Gaye, 1971. I mean, he talked about everything. To me, it's really the first concept album ever. You will get some argument that Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, or whatever the name of the album is, by the Beatles, is the first concept album, but I believe it's Marvin Gaye's. Before that, it was just a bunch of songs compiled on an album. There was no idea about sequencing or mood and ebb and flow of what this album could create, right? Until we got to Marvin Gaye's What's Going On. And I mean, he talked about everything from the ecology to the war to his personal addiction. I was 20 years old before I realized he was talking about what he was going through with coke and drugs, flying high from these skies without ever leaving ground. What do you pay attention? So the difference between hearing and listening became my friend at that point. And in looking at like that pain he was going through, like this dude, they were like, he was in the studio for like weeks, sniffing coke and doing multi-layering his vocals, and he was doing all the background vocals by himself in the dark. And that's why you see Redman and Method Man, not Redman and Method Man, but like Redman and like Slick Rick. If you listen to their albums, they will tell you straight out that the inspiration to do multiple characters on a song or in the storytelling came from Marvin Gaye doing that album. So, you know, he was in some deep, deep pain, you know? So I don't know, man.
I might be more of an eternal like optimist with it, because you will see artists and even people trying to get on, trying to replicate, because they feel like, you know, that it comes from pain, so they try to replicate pain and end up getting themselves in, you know, fucked up situations. But I've always looked at it like not really pain, but great art comes from honesty. And if pain is what you're honestly going through, and that's what it is, you know. And that, for me, that's always been a healthier way to look at it, because you kind of start feeling like, okay, well, shit, if it's only pain, then that's all you can get. You know what I mean? Like, and you know, you see those people who be trying to get, I see a lot with art, like people trying to get art, like I got to go through something, or I got to put myself in this, I got to be that starving artist to, you know, to do this. Like I got to
get some sort of clarity,
or going through some mental junk. Like, nah, you need to be honest. Like that's just what they happen to be going through. So like I always took it like as like, you know, that great art comes from just being honest. Where you at in that moment? Because that's what people connect with.
That's hard for some people too, though, just to be fully honest with themselves. So sometimes they feel like they have to go through a transition or maybe like a stripped down period, not so much of to get the pain part, but even if it's the honesty, you have to get to a point to be honest and be accepting of, you know, who you are, period. So sometimes that is a struggle.
I feel like that's a perspective, like the pain thing is a perspective, but I'll throw something else out there. There are a lot of things that people hold up high because of what people were going through when they did it or when it happened. I think paintings are a big part of that. So I think sometimes that we have we look at things as being greater because of the story behind them, more so than maybe them actually being that great. So you might look at an artist's painting around the time that they committed suicide, and all of a sudden the value of those things, the things that people get from it, the things that people try to get from it when looking at it. Oh, I can see his frustrations here in this stroke. I can see the depression in this stroke. This is the best album this artist ever did. This is the last one he did before he died, you know, et cetera, things like that. I think sometimes us as a culture, we push that narrative. We push that pain produces masterpiece narrative in the entertainment world. And like I said, I think I agree that I think it's more honesty than pain, but I think a lot of people embrace that. You'll sell more albums when you're dead shit. Your stuff is more important to people if it's like something you did when you were either going through something, or if it was the last thing you did, something heavy on you or something that broke you. We embrace things that we really do embrace things that seem to come from pain as well. So I don't always think that it's just that people do that.
What is that about human nature though, that draws us to the, you know, the 50 car pileup and causes the rubberneck, and always like, it's like we seek tragedy sometimes, and that, you know, just like some people seek drama. They need drama to fulfill themselves because they can't be good with who they are. Maybe that's an indictment on who they are as a person, is that they don't have enough within, that they have to like find some validation through criticism of other people or finding drama and creating drama in their own lives or whatever. But it's, I don't know, it almost seems like the drama and the conflict is more important, or we value that more than someone like, what is a normal life? Like, oh, he has a boring life, why would we want to talk about them? Or like the San Antonio Spurs are not sexy enough for us. They just do, all they do is win. Well, isn't that the goal? Yeah, but they don't do it in the way that makes us, we're not excited as Kobe and Shaq.
There's no
them having
pizzazz
beat
with
in
it.
the locker room and still winning titles together.
I think
so.
you're
I don't know.
asking,
I don't know what that is in people that we kind of gravitate to the negative.
I think you're asking a very Shakespearean question that it would take us like at least 3 hours to break down. That's a huge culture thing. We definitely, films that are more about drama. Like you get that from films. Look at a lot of like Oscar draw films or independent films that are big raves, and especially black dramas. Oh my God, the most heinous shit needs to happen to us for it to get a 100% rating from white critics. It blows my mind sometimes. I'm like, I don't want to watch this shit. Like, Detroit was one of the most loved films from white critics last year, and I thought it was black torture porn.
I didn't like that. I've watched that movie. I was like,
They loved it. White critics loved it. A white woman directed it, or a white man wrote it. They loved it. I thought it was black torture porn.
I was like, oh no.
So it all depends on perspective. Oh my God, we got to get back. All right, so let's get back. All these great questions coming from this episode that we've got a whole month of podcast stuff that we could do just based off of different lanes that we've taken. Wow, breaking off from focus. All right, so we jump into the next section, and for me, I labeled this in my notes, the last section for me, and it was the what if factor. And I think this is where Twan is gonna jump on and just really go like a moving like fucking locomotive with this one. But so there's a mention with Darius. Teddy Perkins tells him I'm gonna turn on the elevator, get the piano, put it on the elevator. Oh, almost forgot this. Hey man, who goes to pick up a fucking piano by themselves? Who does that?
Me, tilt that shit on the side and roll it. You
Niggas
good?
don't go get couches by themselves. Darius went to pick up a piano alone. He knew he needed to rent a U-Haul, but he didn't think he might need a friend to help, even with just maneuvering it through doors. I understand he had a dolly and shit, but still, it's a fucking piano. It's not a Casio keyboard.
Hey, did you catch the background of his phone when he got the text messages?
Well, when
Oh, yeah,
you still
you dead
alive
yet?
yet? Oh, you dead yet? Yeah.
Did y'all see the picture he had in the background?
No.
Oh yeah, where like it was Rihanna and them playing dice.
Yeah, have y'all seen that?
Obama.
Have you seen that picture going around the internet? Like,
No, I saw it briefly. Like I was like, is that Michelle Obama? Is that dice?
yeah, it's a picture going around, and it's like it got Barack, it got Martin Luther King, it got Tupac, it got like Allen Iverson, like a bunch of prominent black figures, but in the back of like an alley somewhere shooting dice.
Real nigga shit.
Like, and somebody put that around with like black excellence and shit like that. People like, what the fuck, nigga? Like, it's just dumb ass
Wow.
picture. It's not even like good drama, but it's a dumb ass picture. But he had that as his background, which made me laugh.
Bad Black Art is where that picture belongs on Facebook.
Yes.
If you know the group, you're in it. It's a real group for this. Most of it is stuff drawn by Hoteps. So let's continue. So he runs down into the basement because the elevator doesn't work anymore. It's being controlled from remotely. He ends up going down there, and this is where the whole Destiny line comes from. He runs into somebody in a wheelchair with a mask over their face, and there are allusions in this mentioned in the Vulture article to the Invisible Man. Not just the sci-fi book, but also the is it Ralph Ellison novel, which is a. I tell you, the Audible is done by the guy who plays the father on Scandal. I can't think of what his name is right now.
Joe Morton.
Joe Morton, there you go. He does an amazing job of reading the Invisible Man, Ralph Ellison version. It's so good that I can't listen to it because he talks. The book is written very. I don't know what is a word for. See, this is why I don't need to read. This is why I need to read more because I'm terrible with words. It is not written for somebody who does not have a thesaurus handy. Let's put it like that. Okay? A lot of stuff goes over your head, and Joe Morton is such a good actor and a good vocal actor that his drama being added to what he's reading makes the stuff go even further over your head as he just flows through it. So it is amazing if you can keep up with everything, because that book in general is just a heavy piece of literature. Okay, it is a lot of layers to that book. About colorism and all types of things that Black people deal with now today, but definitely dealt with back then, especially Black people who went to college back when they did not want niggas going to college, but niggas finally were allowed to, stuff like that. So go check that out. But this guy rolls up on him in a wheelchair and he has a mask over his face, and it is reminiscent of, again, it is a call to Michael Jackson. I think the whole he can't go out into the sun, he has vitiligo, things like that. And this guy, he can't speak either, which makes me believe that either this, I feel like Teddy has been torturing this Benny. I don't feel like that this is a disease. I feel like Teddy has been torturing him and holding him hostage and, sacrificing his brother for greatness. Maybe a masterpiece.
Maybe his brother does have this disease where he can't go out, but he doesn't want to make music anymore. Mm-hmm. And now Teddy's stepping into that role of his father of, no, this is what we do.
There was a
sacrifice, and what? So, what do you think the sacrifice is referencing? Because it's not. Is it more a sacrifice of? Because you mentioned that, and then at the end, he calls Darius a sacrifice, or the act of killing Darius is a sacrifice. I guess I don't know. Maybe I don't know if you want to talk about that towards the end.
Let's talk about that as I get to the end. I was actually looking for as well a tweet that I had earlier that was I can paraphrase it. Let me get it straight in my head so I don't fuck it up. The tweet basically said that Teddy Perkins, Benny Hope was Michael Jackson's view of him, the way he saw himself. Teddy Perkins was the way we saw Michael Jackson. And it took me a while to like really get with that. I was like, what? I don't understand what you mean, but like saying it out loud and reading it, like it makes it's more defined now. It's more definitive now. It makes more sense to me now. Benny Hope with the cover over his face and not wanting to be seen by the world and maybe having some type of what is it when you don't think, but like body dysmorphia? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
If he had anything like that, then that would explain why you would cover yourself up and hide away from people and say that the sunlight hurts you, so you stay inside and don't go out in public if you have some extreme form of like body dysmorphia, or maybe he did something to himself trying to fix himself and he is in this state that he is in now. Teddy Perkins was our view of Michael Jackson. Creepy, the white face, awkward voice. There's that whole scene before where they're joking about Sammy Sosa and what Sammy Sosa did to himself. But as we're making these jokes, we're making them at the expense of these people who are clearly dealing with deep depression. And they need help. They have a mental illness but we joke about it, right? That's how we see them. So I thought that was kind of like, damn, that's a simple way of saying some really complex shit about just, we're an audience for these people's depression. So
that's deep, nigga.
I know. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
When you add nigga on the end, it makes it so extra.
It's deep, nigga. So the guy writes him a message and he's basically say, Teddy's gonna try to kill us, and there's a gun in the attic, which again makes me believe that he's done this to people before. There are bodies in the walls, people under the stairs here. That is a reference to a film for those who don't know. Go check it out. And Darius is like, okay, I'll go upstairs to the attic. He goes upstairs and he runs into Teddy again. And Teddy is watching an old film of him being abused, Benny being abused at the piano. And at that point, Teddy is like, guess what I found in the attic? We already know what was in the attic. For some reason, I feel like that is a reference to Flowers in the Attic, which is another film about some kids being kept in an attic.
What's
in a
that
different
movie?
society. It is a really,
but that's a whole different thing though.
Yeah, I still feel like I don't know why. I just feel like it was a reference for some reason. Because it's another film about parents abusing their children. Like but we basically see what he has. He has a shotgun that he thought that was Teddy downstairs in the mask. And he realizes, he has his gun. Well, he takes Darius back upstairs. He tells Darius, you're lucky. You're going to be I choose you to be my sacrifice.
Yeah.
And he takes him upstairs. He makes him sit in the chair. He throws the handcuffs on him, tells him handcuff a shank. Shank on your feet first. Do your hands.
Like I said, this ain't his first time, man. Like somebody rushed his ass. He's like, nah, man.
They have one final conversation, and this is where Darius, I think, is. It amazed me, and I tweeted this, and I had like 2 popular tweets for this episode. One of them was, it amazes me how Darius is more inquisitive than frightened in this whole episode. Is it even possible for him to panic? And I felt like the only time he actually panicked was when Benny shot himself in the face. Like I felt like he was kind of like, oh shit, you just shot Teddy. But then when Benny shoots himself, I kind of feel like that broke Darius's coolness, right? That broke his optimism and shit that we see him have in every episode. Because until this point, he had been so matter of fact about the whole thing.
I mean, you can always see it too as a tactic, as a way to talk to somebody who has a warped view.
Yeah, hostage negotiations.
He stayed immensely calm in the situation, but when you have somebody that has a warped view and then you give them a polar opposite view, if nothing else, to have them still see you more as a person, humanize yourself, and to also make it so you get some more time. I'm gonna make you think about it. I'm gonna make you. We're gonna draw this out. Maybe I get you to change your mind. I don't know. I got to try everything at this point.
Now, okay. So he tells, before he takes Darius upstairs, and I wanted to ask this question, I forgot. He says, "You're my sacrifice," and Darius says, "There is no fucking Benny," and Teddy Perkins says, Exactly. What did he mean?
Say it again.
Darius told him there is no fucking Benny because Darius believes that Teddy Perkins made Benny up, right? Yeah. He's playing 2 characters, like a la Psycho, which is another reference that Vulture made. And Teddy Perkins says, exactly.
Now, could that be a reference? Because later, when Benny comes upstairs, he says, Benny, you're alive. And then we saw the blood on Benny's shirt. Did Teddy try to do something? Like, did Teddy try to hurt Benny? Thought he was dead. And maybe that's why he said, there's no Benny. He was like, exactly.
Oh, yo.
What?
That explains that. Okay, the blood on the piano.
The blood on the piano?
That makes sense.
So like when he first comes upstairs, because at this point Darius is going to come upstairs, right?
Right.
You get the gun, because then when he walks into the thing and sees him, Darius is holding like a fireplace poker or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I was assuming that because they showed the surveillance cameras earlier, that Teddy saw all that happen. The conversation between Benny and Darius in the basement. Because then that's when he's like, because he says, hey, you know, when he asks for the bathroom, he tells him where the bathroom is.
It's right next to the attic.
He says upstairs, and he says, oh, you know what I found up there? The gun. Proceeds to bring him down. Then he says that thing that Brandon just said. But then when the bell rings and Benny comes wheeling out, Benny has his shirt is bloody. And the first thing that Teddy says is, Benny, you're alive.
Benny, you're alive.
Well, so when Darius saw Benny initially, his shirt wasn't bloody.
Well, the robe was closed. You couldn't see his shirt.
It was closed. Yeah, I'm looking at the scene right now.
Hence why he said he's going to kill us both.
I don't see any blood on the white part, though.
So you think he was trying to kill Benny or sacrifice or whatever when Darius initially went upstairs with the water.
Yeah, he was
like, he was doing something to him. Hence why the blood was on the piano.
So that could be just the abuse part to get him to to keep going what his dad was doing. But like when it happened in the basement, because I was like, that's why they would show he has surveillance cameras. Because when Darius walked up in the room, he was watching the thing. He was talking like, I know y'all playing.
Yeah, I remember he said the bathroom, and he said which is right next to the attic.
So
guess what I found when I was up there.
So I'll give you this. I'll say that it is possible that he saw Darius go to the basement, and then he went and got the gun, because Darius, when he went upstairs and when he told who he thought was Teddy that he was gonna go get the gun before Teddy got the gun, because Benny wrote on that chalkboard, Teddy kill us both, gun and addict. Darius actually went up with the piano and was pushing it outside and found out he
Darius was going to leave. Darius like, I got to put my piano in first.
So that's why he came back.
Darius was like, I'm going to be out.
But he couldn't move because Teddy put the car behind the U-Haul. So Darius came back and was like, can you move my car? And that's when he found him watching the old clip of Benny being abused Benny playing the piano lesson, et cetera, et cetera. But the scene that you're talking about with the blood on the keys actually happened when Darius went upstairs with Teddy, and he was sitting at the piano while Teddy was signing that piece of paper, and Darius makes the remark, I know what that's like, and Teddy screams, no you don't, you have no idea. And Teddy storms out after, I think he was doing like a tax write-off thing, and
he was telling him what papers to sign. That was after they left the room where he was honoring his father.
Right, and Teddy goes out the room, he slams the stuff on the piano, he walks out. When Darius goes to get up from the piano, he touches one of the keys and there's a blood drop on it. That's when he, wipes it off of the key. He looks at it. And then he meets Benny downstairs after this. Because that's when he picks
I think she was saying, though, like, was that, like, him, I think, like, that part showed the abuse that was going on,
Yeah, it could have.
And then you have the stuff that happens later.
Or maybe it showed that Benny was dying.
He watched him do all that stuff, and that's why he knew what the plan was.
Or it could have showed that Benny was dying. Like, he's playing the piano, he's playing the piano, he's dripping blood on the keys, Yeah. But I'm definitely trying to find a bit more information from this scene right here, but I think that he does not have blood on his shirt, which would mean that Darius, when he went out to the car, then Teddy went up to the attic, probably got the gun, came downstairs, shot Benny, took Darius to the middle of the room, was going to shoot him, but Benny wasn't dead. Benny might have been dying, which is why he went ahead and killed himself off as well. So
and he knew Benny was going to answer and shoot him, because that's when he called. He was calling it like he wants me to kill him. Like he calls Alfred back.
Yeah. Benny also was not played by Childish Gambino. He's played by another actor who was on set. I can't remember what the guy's name was, but he was played by somebody else. So
and it was
there's
that
no
whole
blood on his
last
shirt,
scene that
Twan.
made me think of like the lost goals part. I mean, the lost dreams, because when they're talking, after he gets handcuffed, he goes like, great stuff doesn't always come from pain. He says sometimes it's love, and then he starts explaining Stevie, and then Benny comes back with Stevie had his own sacrifice. He was blind, and then Darius basically like, but he wasn't blind dead. He used his music to see, all that stuff. But he was, and at that moment, you thought he was getting him to think about it, right? Like, you thought he was getting him to think about it, and then he was like, you're wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And then Darius basically, as we started talking about, his own father stuff, but basically says, apologize to him. Like, I'm sorry you had to go through that. And, what could you have become, if that didn't happen?
It was the what if factor. He says, what if you'd have seen love instead of all the other shit?
Yeah. What your dreams come? And then what kind of cemented it even more for me is that at the end, when they're playing Evil by Stevie Wonder, right before the credits is, the last verse you hear is basically Stevie Wonder saying, evil, leaving room for darkness where lost dreams can hide. And then it goes to the credits.
Yes.
Do you think Benny actually was really killed himself because he was dying, or just because one of those freeing moments that was like a freeing moment for him?
Well, I think he was dying because he did not have blood on that. You can see the robe isn't all the way closed. You can see the white part when he's downstairs talking to Darius in the basement. It's pure white. There's no blood on it. When he comes up in the elevator later, he's covered in blood. So something happened. And I think it was a combination of a bunch of things. He probably did get shot, which is why Teddy Perkins was so surprised to see him alive, since he probably tried to kill him.
Yeah.
And also he was probably the rest of the point where he might have actually been sick, or maybe he just was tired of living at the same. If he had been captive in this house the whole time.
Yeah, and it could be both. It could be that this final choice is, let's say if he was sick, then that's something I didn't choose. The path on music, even though it gave him a lot, was still something that he didn't choose. And now he's sitting here with Benny trying to recreate this magic the same way his father did. Again, something that he didn't choose. And this is going to be the thing that I choose to release me.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
Also, I don't know if y'all noticed this, and maybe I saw the wrong thing. Did he use like a Grammy or some type of award to help him shoot himself with the gun?
Oh, what he propped to angle the gun?
Yes,
I thought he used the poker. I thought he used the poker.
Was that it looked like a Grammy though, because it had like a
it was the poker, because Darius goes to drop it. He tells him to keep it because it's gonna make it look more realistic.
Okay, got you.
But he still has it. He's gonna make it seem like it's like a home invasion.
It was a robbery.
Yeah.
Even I don't know how you're gonna do that. You maybe gonna take the handcuffs off him later.
I didn't even ask those questions. You asked some crazy person questions, sir.
And that's why he gave Benny kind of usher for it, and Darius just gave him the poker, and then that's what he used.
Okay. So we just hit our 2-hour mark, and it is time to go. This has been the longest breakdown.
We didn't talk about the sacrifice. What was the sacrifice?
So specifically, when you're asking that question, what do you mean? Which sacrifice? Darius?
No, I mean, the question is, what was the sacrifice? I mean, he says it twice in the episode, and I'm just curious to understand what was he referencing when he meant, the sacrifice. Like Darius killing Darius was going to be a sacrifice for him.
Mm-hmm. We don't know.
That's something honestly I tried to figure out, and I couldn't give you anything. Maybe
he was gonna kill all of them and turn that into like, I don't know, a historical place based on murders. This guy who worked with all of these celebrities, who was held captive, died in his home. Like, Prince died and he turned it into a museum, or maybe something like that. Maybe he's looking at it from that perspective.
you know what? When you saying that, he did also say, like, when he tried to, like, you know, when he told him to hold on to it because it makes it like a home invasion, like he's gonna make it like a crazed fan, somebody who was obsessed with Benny.
Mm-hmm.
And if you had somebody who was obsessed with Benny who broke into the home and had to be killed, that would bring in a lot more people being like, well, who is Benny Hope?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there's definitely some story to that, yeah.
Yep.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so maybe that was a sacrifice.
But no, I was curious because, like I said, he mentioned it, and mainly, especially mentioned it that, you know, that part when he was trying to kill Darius. So I was curious to what the sacrifice was.
Yeah. No, it actually made me think about it. So maybe that's it. That's the only thing I can come up with, though. It's just not enough. Just too much crazy there with Teddy for me to figure out the rest. But all right.
You know what's the amazing thing? Before we go, Brandon, and I want to thank you guys.
Oh no, you're good. I was going to let you get in because I know you had disappeared for a minute.
Sharing a conversation with you today, but it's amazing how impactful this show has been over its 2.5 or 2 3/4 seasons so far, and how we clown, we laugh, we joke, whatever. But the artistry and the imagination of Donald Glover and his whole crew, and how they go about doing this and keeping it not only like giving you layers, but also keeping it topical and as real as possible is an amazing feat. You know, Thursday night at 10 o'clock, you know where everybody on Black Twitter is. And it's just a trip how galvanizing this show is for people, as much as, like, I guess we're in the year of, like, Black Pride for sure, you know, with Black Panther and everything. And just, you know, you could talk about Issa Rae's show and all this other stuff. Like, there's a lot going on for being Black in America, as much as, you know, you have somebody in office who is so ass backward on purpose. And just kind of combating that with these expressions that we've always had, but now we have outlets for them. Is an amazing thing that we're sitting here and 2-3 hours later analyzing an episode of a show that's supposed to be, I guess, a comedy, but really, like, we had a whole bunch we talked about here.
I mean, the Bibby episode was the comic, you know, in this sandwich of drama. This season we got Helen, then we got, which was not funny, then we got Bibby, which was funny, and then we got this, which is funny but not funny. Mm-hmm. So it, you know, they're more serious episodes this season. I'm looking forward to the next episode with Van to kind of see where they're going with her story now that her and Earn aren't together anymore. And I like seeing her in the previews for next episodes. It just lets me know that they're continuing with Zazie Beetz' character.
I love her.
But yeah, everything you said is true, man. It has been this show kind of just exudes Blackness. Like, I don't know if people truly appreciate what is being done, allowed to be done by FX with this show. Because anywhere else, I feel like this show would be problematic, trying to do some of the things that it does to speak directly and only to Black people, which is why I'm disgusted every time I see somebody white write something negative about this show that they don't understand. There are a lot of white opinions about the Bibby episode, and that's because you've never gotten a haircut in a Black fucking barbershop. You've never had a Black barber.
Right.
So it wasn't for you. It's not for you. It's for us. This conversation, y'all can understand. You have your own crazy horror stories, but again, this is about people, Black people idolized. This episode was like, and it hits home. So yeah, I think the show gives a lot back to our community specifically, because that's where its focus lies. It's very down to earth. It's just very real, and the writing is insanely creative. What they can do, I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall when this episode was being put together, just to hear the things that didn't make the cut when it got down to the editing floor. You know, that I'm sure there was a whole lot here. This probably was like more of a 2-hour episode. This could have been like a season premiere, even though their season premiere for this season was amazing. That open robbery is still one of the best things I've seen opening a season of a show ever. that was just beautiful. But Will, man, I appreciate you joining us as usual. You come with the stories and gems, and the perspective that I think people really, really like enjoy hearing. So it's been a while, brother. Thank you for coming back on and kicking it with us. This was really last minute.
Let's do it again soon, man. It's been like, what, 5-6 years, which is crazy.
It's been a while.
I think it was probably like 2013 the last time we spoke on here like this. So it's been a minute, but continued success. I love that y'all are still together. We still together. Remember that from Men Living Color?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I forget the name of but David Allen Greer and Kim Wayans used to be like, they tried to kill each other all the time, and people would walk in, they're like, but we still together. Anyway, long story short, thank you, Twan. Thank you, Brandon. Of course, my queen, my confection queen, Deidre. We'll speak offline about my chocolate ginger snaps and such. Maybe some
Why do I feel you? Why do I feel you rubbing your hands back and forth?
I am. I got the Birdman hand rub on smash right now. You know, trying to get my order together. But thank you guys, and forever and for always, where's my 40 acres?
Yep. And for everybody else listening, we appreciate you for joining our show, and can't wait to talk to you again next week with another review of Atlanta robbing season. All right. Good luck.